All right, Susana. So let's get on. Now we're on the mic, and we're going to talk about all the stuff that you do. And you agreed with some coaxing to come on the podcast with me, which I appreciate very much. And I know you're busy, and you're helping me with my business too. We're helping each other.
Absolutely.
But I want to go back because I know part of your story. You started to tell it to me, and you were really in corporate, and you thought you were going to be there forever. You didn't think you were going to be an entrepreneur and all this kind of stuff. And this is the accidental entrepreneur. So everybody I run into, they're like, "That's me. I'm the accidental entrepreneur." So someday we'll find out. Will the real accidental entrepreneur please stand up? But maybe we go back. Like where are you from originally? Where'd you grow up? How did you end up in corporate doing what you're doing? And take us through the story.
Okay, well, you want me to go way back. So I am the
Sure.
accidental entrepreneur, but I do have entrepreneurship in my blood. So I was born in Cuba,
Okay.
and my dad and his father owned electrical store in Havana. It was a big store. Everybody shopped there. So
Like a supply store, like you buy
yeah,
electrical. Okay.
yeah, kind of like the electrical aisle in Home Depot.
Okay. Yeah, no, that
And
makes sense.
yeah, and they're very popular. Business went great. So I think I have business ownership in my blood, but it was dormant for a while.
Okay.
Um, so after college, I didn't dream of being a business owner. We were always taught at that time, go find a big company, and
We're all
they
taught,
will
right?
take care of you for
Yeah,
the rest of your
magically. Go to
life
college and then you go.
until
Now,
you.
when did you come to the United States?
I came to the United States in 1962.
Oh, okay, fine. So you were young. So you were, okay. So you
Very.
did most of your schooling and everything here.
Yes.
Okay. Did your
Yeah.
parents have the store here when they came?
No, like most immigrants, you have to start from scratch. We literally came over with one suitcase for the four of us. So
Right.
it wasn't exactly just the clothes on our backs, but close to it. So we came to New York to live with relatives, and my parents took whatever jobs they could find, worked
Right.
hard. My sister and I both went through college, and again with the thought of we were going to find a big company that we were going to retire from when we were old, and we're going to get the gold watch and that whole thing.
Yeah. Pension, the
Put your
whole
head
thing.
down, work hard. You'll
Right.
be promoted. You'll be given raises, and none of that actually happened.
Right. Well, the world changed. That was the world in the 60s and the 70s, right?
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what did you major in college? Remember when you
So my major in college was English, and my minor was in psychology.
okay.
And I didn't realize it at the time, obviously, but after many, many years, if you put those two together, you get marketing,
Yeah, that's basically what happened, right?
right?
That's how
You get
marketing was born.
how people think and express it really well.
Yeah, right.
So I was building myself a foundation even back then when I didn't realize
So you said you were at AT&T? Did you join them out of college, or was that later on?
it. No, I worked at an insurance company in Newark for the first 3 years, which no longer exists,
Was it
and
Mutual Benefit Life?
it was
My father spent his entire career at Mutual Benefit Life.
out.
Yeah, and I graduated law school like 92. I was supposed to work. I did work there that summer. That was the summer they collapsed. He was number 3 in the country in sales. Joined them when I don't know. I was born in 66. So he was already maybe 65. He joined the company. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it was a great company while I worked
Yeah. It
there,
was a
but
great company while it lasted. Yeah.
yeah. Then, so after 3 years, I found a higher paying job at AT&T, and was with them for almost 20 years. I almost reached pension eligibility within seconds of pension
Really?
eligibility. And they're like, oh, she's getting too close. It's time to
Right.
downsize her. So I and three-quarters of my department were all told we were let go on the same day. And we got up and went to the parking lot where somebody had an inkling of what was to happen, and she had brought a cooler full of hot dogs and beer, and we just had a cookout in the parking lot while the few employees who stayed behind were not happy about that.
And you said that was like 2003?
That was 2003. That
Yeah,
was
so the
June of
whole industry had
2003.
changed a lot by then.
Yeah, and then in the year 2003, a lot of large businesses were laying off. So I was looking for another job, but so
Hard
was
to find.
everyone else.
Right, of course.
And
Usually what happens.
yeah, and I mentioned before that, at the time I was widowed 3 years, yeah, just 3 years. And so I was a unemployed widow with two children and a
How
mortgage.
old were the kids?
The kids were, yeah, the kids were just, were in like middle school and high school. So
Right in the thick of things.
yeah,
Yeah.
so a lot
Oof.
of years of
Yeah.
schooling ahead of them.
Right, right. So what do? You're sitting in the parking lot, you're eating a hot dog and beer. Yeah.
So
The
I,
beginning of the rest of your life, right?
run and just plan the rest of your life.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't
So
like you had planned this and you're like, this is the day I'm
no,
going to leave. And I made all my
exactly,
plans coming up. Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, but I had decided right then and there that, well, the whole old-fashioned notion of a big company is going to take care of you is clearly not working. And I said, whatever happens to me, I want to make sure that I'm the one in control. I need to take control. I need to set my destiny. I have these two kids to
Right.
take care of. I can't just go backpacking through Europe for a couple of years to find
Eat,
myself.
love, pray. Right.
I
Yeah. You
kind of
can't
have
do
a,
that.
no, I can't do that. I have responsibility. And I said, if I get another job at another company, who knows how long they're going to take to decide that department gets laid off. So, and I was in the systems department. So a lot of the systems analysis work that I was doing was getting, farmed overseas.
Oh, that's what
And
happened.
that's how
Okay.
they were going to save a ton of money.
Right.
So, yeah, I didn't, nobody was hiring. I didn't know what to do. And a friend of mine said, everyone's struggling with their computers. Why don't you be a computer tutor, teach people how to use their computers, and just, there's so many of us who need help, and you can make your own money
Yeah.
that way. And I said, well, I can do that. And without knowing anything about business, because I never took business in
No
college,
business, no sales, nothing.
no business, no sales, no management, no economics, nothing. I said, well, that's something I can do. And that's the way I started. I started learning home computing. And in January of 2004, I started my first business and never, ever looked back for a second.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, once you get to that world and, not by choice or whatever, you don't go back. I mean, because you don't want somebody else to control your life. And economic factors that you have no control over. You're doing a good job. It's nothing to do with that. You didn't get fired because you were bad at what you did. You got fired because the world changed. And yeah, I mean, look, that's I think why a large percentage of the population are now entrepreneurs. That we have this whole gig
Oh,
economy
absolutely.
and people that are in business. The unfortunate part is that, and some of us are definitely more resourceful than others that we know, right?
Mhm.
But it's a self-educated process. There's no, you don't graduate from corporate world and go to the University of Entrepreneurship and graduate from there with your degree and books and all the stuff ready to go. It doesn't work that way. So you kind of get
Exactly.
thrown in. That's where the name came from for the podcast. But you know,
Yeah, exactly. And I'm in retrospect, I'm actually glad I never took any business courses because I didn't come into this with any kind of a prejudgment or preconception of
right.
how it was all going to work. I did learn the hard way. I did learn with boots on the ground, and I'm very grateful to that because that's what led me to meet Mike Michalowicz. He was speaking at a women's business owner conference, and he had just published The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur.
Right.
And
That was his first book, wasn't
that
it?
was his very first book, and
Right.
we
Right.
were
Great book.
completely mesmerized. We're
Yeah.
like, oh my God, he's speaking our language.
Yeah, very charismatic, easy to understand. He resonates with people. Yeah, that's
And,
the book about like bootstrapping, right? Really?
oh, that book was literally, the first couple of chapters was, it explains why the title is what it is. It's
Right.
very funny, but
Yeah,
it
the
really,
analogy makes sense, right?
yeah, and it's like, what do you do when you have nothing and you have to make something happen no matter
Right.
what.
Yeah.
And I think that was speaking to my whole life. And then after I met him, he kind of got friendly with the whole organization. He started a mastermind group and I joined right away. And I was in his mastermind for a year and a half. I mean, huge learning experience from the master himself, right? And so, I had been developing different, my business. I actually had hired him to be my private coach for a few months. And, just again, the entrepreneurial journey along the way. And at a certain time, I realized that the the business owners I was helping with their computers and then later their marketing, there was always some other issue that needed to be resolved and they had no idea how to resolve it and they felt frustrated and they were trying to throw different kinds of money at their problem, never really
Right. Because we get no
identifying
training. That's why. Yeah.
because there's no training.
No.
And so when he came out with the pumpkin plan, and then he certified it as an actual business process and a certification course, I'm like, that's it. That's exactly the answer I've been looking for all this time. So I became certified in the pumpkin plan process.
That was the first course. I thought, see, I didn't understand that. I thought Profit First had come out and then they made Profit First professionals. Then they said, oh, let's do this with the pumpkin plan, went backwards. That wasn't the case.
No, pumpkin plan was
Oh,
next.
okay.
And
That
uh,
makes sense. But yeah, okay.
yeah, and then a couple years after that, he came out with Profit First, and I was tempted to be a Profit First professional, but I really didn't have the
Yeah,
accounting
you gotta
background.
want to do all. You gotta really love numbers to be a Profit First guy. If you like the creative, helping the business type of stuff that you're doing, it's the pumpkin plan's definitely the way to go. But it's interesting to watch Mike's progression because he's an entrepreneur, so he didn't just write books. Look, there's a lot of people write books, and they're good books. We're reading them in our peer group, and that's fine. They're authors, and Mike is an author, but Mike's also a business person, so he's growing his business, getting his message out in more than just putting a book on a shelf. It's a
Well,
lot to be said for that.
the thing about Mike is that when you've had a chance to meet with him in person and be in his circle for a little while, you realize it's not just about writing books or giving speeches. Like he lives and breathes this, and every single entrepreneur's journey and travails out there, he feels it. He's right there with him. It really is his personal mission to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty.
Right.
It's not just some nice words that he uses. He really lives and breathes that. So um, that's why the process makes so much sense, and it's very well thought out, and it really does work. And I've enjoyed working with people through the pumpkin plan because it really helps you think differently about the business operations, who your clients are, why are you choosing those clients, why are those clients choosing you,
Right.
what it is you're offering and why.
And
So
it's not for it's I mean, I shouldn't say that. It works for everyone and everyone should do it, but not everybody's willing to put the time in and to think outside the box. That's the unfortunate part of it.
right, not everybody wants to do it, and some people are afraid to do things differently. It really does help you think outside the box, and just the part where you decide to choose your ideal client and then prune your garden and get rid of everybody else. That's the part that people have the most resistance to. Like, wait a minute, you want me to fire like
I got
two-thirds
to do
of my
business with
clients?
everybody, right? Yeah.
Right. It's very friend. Like, do you know how hard I work to get those clients in the first place? I'm like, yeah, but how miserable are those people making it?
Yeah. Well, I think the fact that you spend a lot of time getting them is irrelevant. It's like when people have a stock and it's bad and the price went down. They go, well, I don't want to sell this guy. I got to wait till it goes up. I go, well, it screwed you once. I mean, what's the point?
Right.
You know?
Right. And it's like, how many terrible, terrible conversations do you need to have with the worst clients? How many times are you losing sleep, and are you having stress over these discussions you're having with your worst clients? And how much extra work are they making you do without getting
Always more work.
paid?
It's always more work for the worst
Oh,
clients. It is.
right.
They demand on your time. They take advantage of it. And then they refer other people that are like them. That's the next problem.
Exactly. Isn't
Yeah.
that what you want? You want your
Yeah.
worst clients to refer other terrible clients to
Yeah.
you. I
That's
mean,
why you got to be real careful about doing things like for favors or at a discount or whatever, because you're going to perpetuate that problem. Well, it's not a
Yes.
problem. You're going to perpetuate that income stream. You're going to be perpetually
Right.
poor.
Well, you're going to be known as the person who'll take any kind of business,
Right.
and that is, it's never going to lead to success. It's going to lead to an ulcer,
Yeah.
but it's
Look, I
never
suffer
going to.
from it too. I'm very generous with my time. You know that. I'm always
Hmm.
happy to help. I'll work it out. I'll do, but there gets to a point where you can't, I'm better off working, not doing it at all than
Right.
doing it for such a low price and focusing on other things. But I suffer from it too. You said, we're going to work on that.
Right, right. And I've helped people say, like once, and it's happened to me. It's, I'm an entrepreneur. It's happened to me where I've had a client stop working with me for whatever reason. It's just, they just kind of, reached the end of their road, their journey. I'm like, oh my goodness, and you mourn for the lost income for a little
Yeah.
bit. And then you're like, you know what, that person, once that person goes away, it leaves room in your time, in your energy, in your headspace, and it opens the door for another better client to come in. So, that is a concept I learned a long time ago, and that's a concept I keep reinforcing with my clients. It's okay to let that person go. Look at how much more time you have to develop and attract a better clientele, people you actually are happy to work with,
Right.
and make even more money from, you
Sure.
know.
Yeah,
So it's
absolutely.
it's it's a it's a little bit of a difficult concept for people to accept, but it does work.
I think if you're like in a room and everybody's doing you should just do totally the opposite. Generally, what people do in mass is not good. All the
Right.
principles we follow, all the things we're taught, because the world's constantly changing, and our thoughts and concepts and how we deal with things aren't. So, I mean, there's some people, but it's a minority. You know what I mean?
Right. And the more you want to do things exactly the way everybody else does it, then you're opening yourself up to price shopping, and they're just
Yeah,
going down that list
another
of,
face in the crowd.
right, the Google list of like, okay, well, let me call this person. You're $10 an hour, you're $12 an hour, or you're $9. No,
Right.
that's not where you want to be.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think, but like you said, it's hard. People are trying to pay their bills, and they're like, "Well, I mean, I got to do business with everybody." So they get on to these calls that we're on, and they vomit all over everybody in the room, trying to in 30 seconds. You think about this; it's funny, right? In 30 seconds, they're trying to get in everything that they do. It ends
Yes.
up taking 2 minutes, by the way, and everybody's rolling their eyes. And right, because they're afraid that if they skip something, there might be somebody in the room who knows somebody else that could send them that piece of business, and they don't want to miss it out. And then what happens is everybody in the room, nobody remembers what the person does.
You're 150% right. I've seen a lot of people do that. Well, I do this, and I also do this, and I also do this, and I also do this, and like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
forgot
jack
to
of all
put
trades.
seven
She's
things.
jacking nothing.
Yeah.
What was that thing? I'm not going to mention the person's name. We were emailing about it today. Neither of us
Yeah.
have an idea of what the guy does.
Right. Right. Right.
You know?
Yeah, and I think once you pumpkin plan your business, you become not only different from your competitors, but you become so different that people are bound to notice you more than anyone else.
Right.
And so if you're the fractional
General
business and
counsel. Right.
family attorney, well, wait a minute, what is that? And then you are doing a nice job of explaining it
Getting
in
there. Yeah.
plain English so that people
Yeah.
go, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
Right.
And if not 100 attorneys just like you are doing the same thing, you're going to stand out, and people are going to just naturally want to learn more.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, that's the challenge in law, right? I'm a business lawyer. So what? There's a lot of business lawyers out there. And I do get business because I network and I'm more in front of people. But like you said, yeah, I want to build a practice that is unique, that does the things that I want it to do, that gives me control, as opposed to, just keeping in touch with people and any legal thing that comes through the door I want to handle. And I don't.
yeah, and so if you're going to pumpkin plan your business, you want to develop your sweet spot, which is really three large principles. One of them is discover who your ideal client is, and I never use the word avatar, because an avatar refers to like a mythical
Right. Yeah, no,
representation.
avatar. I've always liked the
Um,
ideal client profile. I've
I,
always
I
liked
work
that
with real
approach.
people. I don't work
Yeah.
with avatars. And
Right.
so, who do you know? Who have you worked with? Who is like your best favorite top client?
Right.
So use that person as, as your goal to get more of those people
As close as you can, right? Not
as close
everybody's
as
going to
you
fit
can.
every criteria.
Absolutely. So, but there's always a thread. There's always a common thread.
Yeah, and there's things that you
Somewhere.
absolutely under no any circumstances don't want, right? So
Yeah. So you want to develop your perfect prospect profile, and you also want to develop your this is going to be who I absolutely will never work with kind of
right,
profile. The opposite. So that's the first part of the Venn diagram. The second part of a sweet spot is your unique value. What are you doing?
yeah,
What are you offering that's different than anyone else?
right.
How
Your
are you
unique selling
working?
proposition, kind of.
Right, you're functioning differently than all the other business attorneys. So
Right.
it's like who you want to work with, how you're going to work with them. And then the third piece of the sweet spot is a repeatable process so that you don't want to be stuck being the only person who can possibly work this company because you can't grow.
Right.
You want to
Because
be
then
able
you're going to be out in the farm every time watering the
yes,
pumpkin, which is
yes.
ridiculous. Right.
You're going to be doing all the work
Yeah.
yourself and you
That's how a lot of business owners run their business. They run it
absolutely.
so, right? It's all them, and they got some help, but at the end of the day, was it Mike that said that they had a? It must have. I don't think it was when I was talking. It must have been in Fix This Next, where he had an employee that was so key to the business that
Mhm.
if she dropped dead tomorrow, they don't think that the business could run, so they sent her away for a couple of weeks to see if they could figure it out, and she ended up moving up in the company, something like that. What she
No,
do
they
similar, like
she actually took I think she took a year
a
off. She went,
linchpin or something? I don't forget the term
yeah,
he used.
yeah. So this person actually went away for a year
Was it a
and she
year?
went to
Wow.
travel and she taught everybody how to fill in for her. So everyone was forced to learn how to fill in for her. When she came back, it wasn't like she was no longer needed or
No, she moved
wanted.
up, I think, right? Now
They
she's like,
moved her up and she's actually the company president. So it could be that at some point I may want to hire, bring on some more consultants and to do more of the consulting work, and I'll find my queen bee role, which is part of clockwork.
I
Another
never
one of
read Surge or Clockwork. I got to read those. But you're right, because then you could choose to
yeah.
do work with people that you want to work with and let everyone else handle the good size but smaller pumpkins.
Yeah, you want to develop your role as to what can I do that nobody else can do? What is the most key role that I play that no one could do? I'm a consultant, but other people can work for me as consultants, so
Yeah,
that's not it.
right.
So
No,
you just
your
gonna, that's the
methodologies.
whole tone of the
Right.
book.
I mean, besides writing, I think Mike's equipped his business so he doesn't have to do anything. Totally can run without him. He just needs to come up with ideas. And that's really where we want to be, right? You want to be at 30,000 feet, dealing with the big issues, which is exactly what he does in his books. And then he doesn't even, isn't the pumpkin plan system and the profit first system, isn't it a licensed system where he has someone else? Yeah, it's brilliant. Like, why would he do it himself? That's crazy.
Right. So the pumpkin plan process, if you wanted to be a pumpkin plan strategist, you would be working with the president of that process, which is Donna Lyons, who's really terrific, and who I work with all the time. And there's somebody else running Profit First, or somebody else running Clockwork. So it's not just about writing a book. He actually created all these certification processes where he's giving other people jobs, he's employing other people.
Yeah.
And all of our missions are to help all the other entrepreneurs. So we just, it really is necessary because, as you well know, being an entrepreneur is thrilling and terrifying at the same
Probably
time.
more terrifying than thrilling.
Probably more terrifying
Yeah.
than thrilling, but we're crazy and we wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, well, some people I don't feel they have a choice. They got, whatever. They left their industry died, they're at a point in their career. I mean, look, I'm an attorney and I like what I do, but I'm not going back getting a job at 55. I mean, nobody's going to hire me because I haven't been in corporate world, and I'm not saying I want to be hired, but it's just not a world that I'm in. So I got to keep
Exactly.
growing my practice and get it back up and running again now that coronavirus is starting to pass. I don't know what the hell's going on with all that stuff, but choosing not to participate in that stuff. I find there's people that are like that. Like they have the right kind of mindset to just not participate in the recession. just not participate in the problems
No,
in the world.
yeah, absolutely right. There are some people who, and that's why I'm creating this program called Build an Unsinkable Business, because there are some people who it doesn't matter whether it's Corona, recession, whatever, plague of locusts, whatever happens in the world, something happens and they go, oh well, it's like Eeyore, right? The
Right.
Eeyore entrepreneurs. Oh well, there goes that.
Yep.
Never gonna work.
Right.
That's over.
That's their example.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my goodness, like what kind of
Like
attitude is
that's all
that?
it took. Right. Exactly.
Right. And so for me, I want to encourage entrepreneurs that there is a way to make their business, at least, think and plan about how are all the different ways you can make your business survive anything. And I
Right.
mean
No, I
anything.
think the concept's fantastic. And the better business people that I've known over my lifetime, the one thing they always knew is that nothing will stay the same. There will always be opportunities, there'll be setbacks, whatever. But if you can live in a world that changes and deal with those changes and pivot, although I was talking to somebody the other day and they said, I don't like pivot because if you keep pivoting, you're back to where you started. I
There
said,
you
that's a
go. You're
good
in a
point.
circle.
Right. That's a good point. So it's not really pivot. It's adjust and, move with it's being, what's the word? Morphogenic instead of morphostatic, right? Not trying to stay on the train tracks and going in the same direction and the whole thing's derailing and you're standing on the side saying, Mitch, we don't use train tracks anymore. And you're like, what? But it's having that
Right.
mindset to be flexible in thought. Is that the right word?
It absolutely is. And that's why I use the analogy of an unsinkable business, because like, not that I've ever sailed myself in my life, but I know enough to know that when you are sailing, there is something to do with the wind going back and forth, and you have to shift and you have to go left and
Right.
you have to go right, or port and starboard or
Right.
whatever. But you don't sail in a straight line until you get
Never.
there. You zigzag and you go this way and you go that way. And if there's a storm over here, you change course. And if there's an iceberg over there, you change course. And
Right.
I think the best business owners, like you were alluding to earlier, they're the ones we know we're going to have to change. And we're not only saying, okay, we're going to have to change, we're saying, yes,
Yeah. They're accepting of it. Bring it
we get
on.
to change.
Yeah.
It's going to be exciting. I
Right.
love the concept of embracing the fact that something out there is telling us, you're not going to do, it's not like you work in the button factory. You're not going to be pressing that same button,
Right.
every day for the 30 years. You're going to be doing something different. You're going to be evolving. You're going to be resilient. So I find that whole concept exciting.
Yeah,
And
no question about it. And you saw people during the pandemic that really shifted what they're doing. I have a friend who his name is Mitch too. Actually, he's got a manufacturing plant in Newark, and he's got tons of employees that rely on him. And this happened, and they embroider things like, well, first of all, they do a lot of like hats for like political campaigns. So those died, and then because they're made in America, so they all want that. They do bags for the military. I mean, everything was off, and he said, you know what, we're going to change everything that we're doing. And they had the materials, they started making masks and I think gowns or no, face shields, you know what I mean? They
mm,
retooled the place. They split up shifts so people weren't together anymore. They had trucks running around to people's houses because a lot of them are seamstresses. They're sewing, picking things up. He said it was hard, but I wanted to keep these people employed. I want to keep the business going. But he's the kind of guy, and he's one of the guys I know that never even occurred to him like, oh, what are we going to do? He just said, well, we're going to figure it out. That's all. It
yeah,
was
and
never in his mind.
here's the key. If it all goes back to the ideal client, is if you know your client well enough, you know that, oh, whether it's a recession or Corona, that person's life has changed.
Yeah.
So you need to be in tune with, how has their life changed? What are they going through right now? And you need to reach out and connect with all of your best, wonderful clients and say, during this virus, what has been your life like lately? What have you had to change? And you want to really get to know them in depth, so that you say, well, it seems like everyone's going in this direction because they've had to. How can my business go in that direction too, to continue to serve them?
Right.
And that's what helps you. That's the guiding light, the beacon of light should be your best customers. Always keep following, how can I serve them, how can I serve them? And the money comes later. So, I like to lead with what can I do for my clients today? What can I do for my clients tomorrow? And they know I'm sincere. They know I care about them, and the money comes later.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have to pay your bills, but I think you just got to get yourself not to focus on that part because the money's a result of a process. It's not the process. So, as difficult as that is, especially during times like these, you
Right.
still got to stay focused on the process that, if you and I made ATM machines, we wouldn't be focusing on the money we put in the machines. We'd be focusing on the machines working. So the money will come out and everybody can pay their bills. But yeah, I think that I love the concept though. Maybe we can explore it more because I think it supports what you're doing and like where did the concept, because I'm sure it developed a little bit over time, come from your thoughts about, okay, you wake up one morning and say, I got to teach people how to build an unsinkable business. Like, where did that come from?
Funny enough, it came this year, but before the virus. So around January, I I lost a couple of clients, and I was doing email work, so email marketing work. So I lost a couple of email marketing clients, and I thought, oh my gosh, drop in income, panic time. And so I said, at some point in everybody's entrepreneurial career, we're going to experience a financial setback of some kind.
Right.
And then I started thinking, okay, what am I going to do about this? So I just started doing certain things just naturally. I looked at all my expenses, I looked at my revenue, and I went through a process myself to help myself recover. And as I was doing it, I thought, this would make a really good presentation because, I love to go speaking. And so I put together a presentation called How to Survive a Financial Setback
Okay.
or something to that effect. And this was, again, pre-corona.
Right. Yeah. We did. Unless you
So
went to Wuhan, China, you didn't know what it was.
yeah, right,
Right.
exactly. And so I was, presenting this topic of how to survive a financial setback. And it was very detailed. And I was like, oh, wow, this is like really good information, the way it was organized and everything. Everybody was like taking, back then it was in person. So everyone taking furious notes. And then the virus hit. And I was like, wow, it looks like I was ahead of the game.
Right.
And I said, well, what do I had that built already. How do I go even further and make it a bigger thing? Because now this is not just a short-term financial setback. This is a bigger concept of how to just not just stay afloat, but how to really, get to your destination safely, no matter what happens. And so the idea just kept building and evolving until I
And one
started
day you
thinking.
were like, you thought of the concept.
I had the concept. I was trying to think of what to name it, and of course, you're Googling all these different name ideas that you have, and I took the one that wasn't taken yet, and I'm going to trademark it. How to build an unsinkable business is going to be trademarked. So pause off, everybody. I've got it.
Well, you already have the common law trademark because you put it out
Yeah,
there. So
yeah.
yeah. Okay. So have you worked with anybody in that regard, helping them?
On this specific thing,
Yeah.
not yet. So I'm building a group program. I love the concept of a group program because I love the group dynamic of hearing other people's feedback,
Sure.
ideas. A lot of this is creative problem solving and creative decision making.
Yeah.
So a group dynamic is just perfect for this. So it's about working through my tools and also working within a dynamic group of peers who are in it to win it, and all for the right reasons, and we have the same sort of mindset. And so they love the fact that they can support someone else because they're receiving support themselves.
And that'll obviously be on Zoom, right? No in
Oh yeah,
person.
yeah, yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
I keep getting asked, well, if we do an in-person meeting, would you come? I go, well, we meet in the basement of your office. I don't know if I'm going to do that. That's a small room. Well, there's a bigger room. I don't know. I don't know. I think Fred wants us to come back soon, but
Zoom has pulled so many people together who
yeah,
ordinarily would not have been in the same room. I think I think destroying all of that and going back to the old fashioned ways is just not a thing. It's not like cars were invented and it was cool, but like, oh, let's just go back to horses.
Right. That's not the case.
Like,
Yeah.
cars are too
No, you're right.
expensive. Let's go back to horses. That hasn't happened.
Right.
So it's not that we're not ever going to meet our clients and everything in person. I like to think that, when I take a client out to lunch or out to dinner, that would be in person.
Yeah.
But for me, doing business is going to be over Zoom because it's just more efficient.
Much more efficient. You don't have to
Incredibly
travel. You can meet
efficient.
with people back to back. I'm also in groups that I couldn't see these people. They're in like Florida or whatever, that I can't see these people if we're not online
I've
anymore.
had clients who I've never physically met.
Yeah. But you've seen
And
them online?
we work together on Zoom, and we've been working together for over a year, but I've never met them in person. My admin, I've been working, today is my anniversary of working with my admin. We've never met in
Congratulations.
person. We've never met in person.
Did you get him or her anniversary gift?
No, she's the one who said happy anniversary. I'm
And
like,
you're like,
what are you
what? For
talking
what? That's very funny. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing. I think this is a very difficult time for a lot of people. Put the health stuff aside, right? Just the economics and the finances and the disruption of life. And I don't think the kids are really ready for this stuff. College is difficult, but it's definitely connected the world. I mean, look, my son is in his junior year at Indiana. I told you, right? And he's an informatics major, which is all artificial intelligence, big data. Everything's being driven by data and decision making and things like that.
That's awesome.
I've connected with a lot of companies that want to talk to him because of my networking. I just sent him to another company the other day, and I got 2 others that are interested in him and he's in one of the top programs in the country. Really just fell into it. He didn't even know what it was. He went there for business. And he started learning about this, program, and he liked it. So,
well, isn't that the way we've fallen into our business, and we've been on a zigzag journey all our lives. And when I was an English major at Rutgers, I thought I was going to work for a magazine, and here I am instead. So
there you go. But the skills are, life doesn't happen in a straight line. It just doesn't. There's a lot.
And thank God for that, because that would be so boring.
So boring. Yeah, problems and all the opportunities are a sign of life. But you're right. It takes a certain kind of personality, a certain kind of person that has a certain kind of purview or an outlook of what's going on to say, even if for a minute they go, they're the kind of people that say, okay, well, what is good about this? Well, what opportunities do I have? Am I going to sit around? And I mean, I literally have, I think I was on a meeting with, I forget who it was. And they asked the question, like, how many Zoom meetings do you go to? Now, there were people on that call that I knew that I hadn't seen at any meeting. So they were like, I don't know. I went to one last week and one last month. And I was like, well, group meetings or individual meetings? They go, is there a difference? I go, well, I go to like 12 to 15 group meetings a week. And I don't know, one-on-ones 3 or 4 a day at the time when I had no business.
I think you're the undisputed king of Zoom.
Probably. It's amazing I haven't developed any psychological issues. Probably have. I just don't realize it yet. But for March, let's say April, May, and June, I had no business. All of my business owners were closed or worried that they were never going to open. They're not calling their lawyer for some legal problem. They weren't getting chased by the Department of Labor. Right. All these people were home. There was nothing going on. I even had my daughter's dance studio that had something going on that it just stopped. They were dealing with issues, and everything just came to a complete halt. Right. And so I had a lot of time. So I said to myself, what am I going to do? I'm going to sit in this closet. I can't go to my office. I'm in this walk-in closet in my house. Now I'm in my office, and didn't know even, I hadn't been on Zoom. I don't think I'd ever been on a Zoom call until Corona. And conference calls on the telephone are difficult, especially if you have more than one person.
I can't stand them.
Yeah, it's very hard to do. And it's even harder now that we know we have this video thing. So I just found every meeting I could go to. I went from one to the other, meeting other people, and I just went crazy. And it's definitely grown my network. Business starting to come back, still slow, but starting to come back. And, or I could have died underneath the couch in my living room. I didn't want to do that.
No, you brought up a good point earlier, and that is, when we all got stopped by Corona, and we all just, we all kind of hunker down and stayed at home. Some people, I don't know, maybe they watch TV all day. I can't conceive of that, but most of the business owners I know and my clients and we said, okay, what can we get done? This is almost like a blessing in disguise to, not to insult anyone, but for those of us whose family members did not become ill, thank you.
Right.
It's a blessing. And we did a lot of back office work that we've been putting off and putting off and putting off.
Yeah.
And we got our procedure documents done, and our branding stuff done, and our websites rewritten, and my clients, because I work with people who are productive, super productive people like me, we said, okay, let's think of all the things we could possibly do now before the doors open again, and then we get stuck in the hamster wheel again. So we use that time to straighten out our back office stuff.
Right.
And so, putting us in a much better position when, things kind of sort of opened up again.
Yeah. I think there were people that were like, is this ever going to end? Are we going to be like this forever? I'm like, not forever. I mean, it's going to be different. There's no question about it. It's not going to go back to the way it was. We're not going to go back to commuting to work every day. It's just not going to be like that. There'll be commuting days and there'll be not commuting days. And there's going to be some sort of a warning system, and they're going to say, viral contagions are at DEFCON 3. Everybody wear their mask for 2 weeks. I mean, that's what it's going to be like. No question about it, because there's going to be other things, right, that come up, and it's not just going to be coronavirus. We're a connected world, and
there will be something else. I mean, there's always something else. It's part of life, and you have to be prepared. You have to be open-minded. You have to be resilient. You have to be focusing on your client and what was your mission? Why did you start this business? And
right.
You have your client that you want to serve, and you have your mission that you want to serve out. So how do you make that happen? If you can't get on this highway, get on that road. If you can't get on that road, get on the grass, do something. But just stopping and now, like, okay, let's all just quit and go home and eat, fried chicken and watch TV or whatever. That doesn't work. We small business owners, we need to keep the economy going. We
Yep.
are the wheel of the economy. And so we always have to find another way to work, another way to offer different services to the same person, or offer the same services to different people. Just find a different way to complete our mission.
Do you have like 2 or 3 like recommendations as to what people should think about to build an unsinkable business? Are you at that point?
Yeah, so I've been doing, so with your recommendation, I've been doing short videos. They're not out yet, but one of the things they should do is build a resiliency plan, which I don't know that there's too many people out there today talking about that, but a resiliency
They're
plan.
starting to, like, they know they need to do that.
Yeah, well, thank goodness, right? Somebody's opening their eyes, and you need to start thinking, what are the different ways that I could still offer services to clients? And it's a really creative thinking process. So it's like, can I do the same thing for different people? Can I serve the same people but do a different thing? Can I do the same thing for the same people but
In a different way?
In a different way, provided in a different distribution method. So one of the things is a resiliency plan, and the bigger your plan is, the more you can possibly think, the better, because you'll be better prepared.
Right. Because you don't know what the next challenge is going to be.
You don't. And then kind of partnering with that is your risk management plan, which is something I learned a million years ago in project management when I got my project management certification, is to develop a risk management plan. Think about every single eventuality that could possibly happen and what can you do to mitigate it. And another critical piece is your communications plan, which is expect to, beyond traditional marketing, expect to find new and different ways to communicate with the critical people in your business,
Yeah.
your prospects, your clients, your associates, everybody.
Yeah. Well, governments do that. Well, they're supposed to. They build these plans like what's going to happen with the school system, what's going to happen with the transit system, what's going to happen with the electrical grid,
Right.
what's going to happen with the water supply. What happens if this happens and that happens? It's not as big, but it's the same concept, right? Because we got caught with our pants down in
Yeah.
March. Most people, unless you're in the infectious disease community, never, nobody saw this coming.
Right. And you brought up a good point where like the cities and the local governments and they've had to do this kind of planning ahead. What makes us as entrepreneurs think that we don't have to plan ahead? And what makes us think that, oh, we could just keep doing the same thing forever?
Right.
Think nothing's ever going to change. Well, I had the floor, come out from under me twice in my life, early widow
And the company job.
and then the company, showed me the door. So I kind of learned my lesson there. Like, well, okay, what have we learned today? We've learned that life is going to throw us a curveball at any moment, and we have to stop saying, "Oh my God, this will, everything's over. This will never work." It's just not a
Well,
way.
if not, you'll worry about it all the time, which is totally a wasted emotion.
No, it's not about worrying about what could happen. It's about trying to keep ahead and saying, okay, well, if and when something does happen, what are all
We're
the
ready.
different ways?
I don't know what it's going to be, but we can bounce high,
Adjust your sails. Adjust your sails.
Exactly.
One of these days, I'm going to learn how to sail, but no.
You think?
I think it's inevitable.
Maybe get you out of that and get you away from coronavirus. You're on the ocean. Just
That
got to
would
stay out
be
of the
lovely.
Caribbean now that we've got all these hurricanes. All right, Susana. So I appreciate it. We've been on the mic for a long time, and you got great things to share. And I look forward to us talking about more of this stuff. If people want to reach out to you, we'll put your contact information in the show notes. I definitely recommend that people read Mike's books, Toilet Paper Entrepreneur, definitely The Pumpkin Plan, Profit First, if they want to know how to pay themselves first type of a program. And people can find you, I assume, on LinkedIn and other social media platforms?
Yep, I'm usually hanging out on LinkedIn, and my website is clearpathstrategy.com. But yeah, LinkedIn is where I like to connect because it's a B2B hangout place.
Right. Okay. Well, Susana, thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much
and I
for
will
asking
see you
me.
at our next peer meeting, right?
Absolutely.
Next week.